Disney is battling to profit, losing money and its stock price. All of this happened because Disney turned woke. This is a story of Disney's rise to glory and most recent internal memos of doom. Due to Disney's impending financial catastrophe, the company is imploding. So, why is Disney collapsing? And is there anything it's doing about it? In 1453, Mehmed the Conqueror set out to capture Constantinople, a feat that any other Ottoman Sultan had never accomplished. The city that served as the capital of Byzantine Empire was besieged on several occasions, but the only time Christians successfully captured it was in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade. The Turks threw everything at the city for many days, but the well-defended walls held strong. However, a peculiar conversation was taking place within the emperor's city simultaneously. Byzantine senators and philosophers were more concerned with fighting vehemently over the sexual orientation of angels than they were with figuring out how to strengthen their defenses and protect the public. A few days later, the city's fortifications were overcome and everyone was killed, effectively ending the Roman Empire's remnants. Whether or not it is apocryphal, it is a great illustration of the bad repercussions that might result from focusing on irrelevant particulars, and it serves as such an example here. In this particular scenario, the downfall of the empire with the longest documented existence, and now Disney best captures a fading contemporary empire after all. The animation business that was initially founded when two brothers sold a short live-action cartoon for $1,500 is now a worldwide enterprise that has evolved out of the animation studio that was initially established. It has accomplished this by firmly squeezing the entertainment sector between its fingers. At this age, the Walt Disney Company is unquestionably the greatest and most successful illustration of the business tactic known as vertical integration. To put it in another way, they have fully monopolized the supply chain. As a consequence of this, they have direct ownership of the companies that are responsible for producing all of their film and television programs. And then, Disney will sell and distribute it globally before broadcasting it on linked networks such as ABC. The Blu-ray discs and DVDs that Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment produces are routinely distributed to the various Disney retail outlets across Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment producers the world. Merchandise is often available for purchase in Disney's several hotels and theme parks. Yet in the world of pretend, things are not going according to plan. Recently, the stock price has been more like a ride on a roller coaster than one of the attractions of its own theme park. From an all-time high of almost $200 per share in March 2021 to $110 in early 2023, Disney's share price has declined by 50% over the previous 2 years. In the final 3 months of 2022, it dropped to a level that had not been witnessed in the previous 7 years, and it finished the year at a price of just $86 per share. The decreased degree of investor confidence in the company is reflected in the low valuation that was assigned to it, and obviously, you are wondering why. Well, actually, Disney has been operating at a loss for a considerable amount of time. It makes sense, from a monetary point of view, to make the decision to spend a lot of money buying up any studio that is even remotely possible, as well as any intellectual property that is easily available, and then to combine these entities into some kind of massive corporate monopoly. The company made a lot of money from its first investment in Marvel, which turned out to be one of the most profitable film franchises in cinema history and brought in unimaginable amounts of cash. But it was until the end of Phase 4 when the Eternals, Black Widow, and Shang-Chi each suffered a setback. Wakanda Forever and Thor Love and Thunder were only modestly successful when measured against their respective production budgets of $250 million and $250 million. But let's be honest, while it may appear spectacular to generate $760 million at the box office against a budget of $250 million, once you consider marketing, it isn't the win Disney claims it is. The last one of the list is Lucasfilm. When was the last time that you were really excited about a new Star Wars movie? More to the point, when was the last time you saw one at a movie theater? In terms of sales, The Rise of Skywalker was a dismal failure, which only served to underline the deteriorating financial situation of the second trilogy. To add insult to injury, Solo is the first film in the Star Wars franchise to ever post a financial loss. It was about as feasible as Disney's concept of utilizing Star Wars as a new cash cow in the mold of Marvel. Steven Seagal's thinning hairline comes to mind. Under Kathleen Kennedy's direction, one of the most known franchises in film history has been reduced to a series of increasingly unsatisfactory films and worthless spin-off of television episodes available on a failing streaming service. It is said that Disney is mulling over the possibility of selling the property, which would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Furthermore, the streaming service known as Disney Plus has not exactly been a financially successful business endeavor. When the service was first introduced in the year 2020, everything ran smoothly at first. Yet, a significant chunk of it was COVID's responsibility, and a pandemic that swept the world left us with little choice but to comb through the content archives of the streaming sites. At a specific window of time, Disney was in possession of an audience that was unable to leave. Yet, the strategy of disseminating as much information as possible, regardless of the quality of that information, only served to make the problem even more severe. She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and Hawkeye did even more harm to the brand, and the membership fee did not cover the cost of production, which was a significant financial burden. And by this time, Disney's prior year's deficit stood at $4 billion. A loss of that scale is not something that many firms, much less one as large as Disney, can maintain for an extended period. The amusement parks were affected similarly. They were shut down for the better part of 2020. Yet, just as visitors were beginning to return, they made the decision to quarrel with Ron DeSantis about legislation that had nothing to do with them in any way. Due to the resorts losing their unique tax-exempt status, their day-to-day operating expenses have increased, as have the rates at the front gate. When you first start becoming involved in politics, you immediately put yourself in danger of ostracizing some incredibly powerful people. You split your audience as well. If you take a stand on an issue that is being hotly debated, you may expect the other side to look down on you. As soon as Bob Chapek came over as CEO, he did his best to avoid becoming involved in the ongoing cultural dispute and to ensure that the company maintained its political neutrality. Social justice campaigners working secretly for Disney rapidly changed his position. Ever since Mickey Mouse took a trip down the river on Steamboat Willie, Disney has been able to bring smiles to the faces of new generations of young viewers. For a good number of years, this stoked their appetite for adventure and inspired their inventiveness. Children were given the opportunity to explore their aspirations via the stories they were told. The children were inspired and driven to take on new challenges in their lives by the knowledge and information provided to them. In the past, Disney has been the industry standard when it comes to animation, but it is today a brand that is a terminal decline, failing horribly one after another while appealing to a small number of progressive activists by pointlessly being embroiled in the cultural wars. Despite these failures, the brand continues to engage in cultural battles. Disney is banking on the continued success of long-running brands, which puts them in the position of standing on the shoulders of giants. Nevertheless, they are oblivious to what is right in front of them. We do not wish for them to fail by saying this. On the contrary, we hope they will succeed, but they won't be around much longer if they keep acting as they have been in the last few years. Former CEO Bob Iger has taken over for Bob Chapek. His responsibility is to bring the firm back to a profitable state. Paradoxically, Iger was mostly responsible for the issues Chapek attempted to resolve. Nevertheless, it is time for him to report to work.